When you expose yourself too much, the line between notoriety and vulnerability becomes dangerously thin. In this age of constant visibility, social media has transformed daily life into a spectacle. Lives laid bare in real time, emotions cast to the wind, and each achievement displayed like a trophy. Yet those who reveal too much forget that the light that shines brightly also casts shadows. Silent pain arises when what should be a celebration becomes a target for critics. Have you ever stopped to consider, what is the true cost of being seen? The need for external validation turns into a trap. The incessant quest for applause reduces a person to something significantly less than they aspire to be. Like a Machiavellian character manipulating the puppets around them, you become a slave to the perceptions of others rather than to your true desires. This cycle of feedback not only amplifies insecurity, but also exposes the underlying fragility of being human in a world that judges by appearances. Breaking free from this prison is a matter of strategy and discipline. A master of invisibility doesn't get bogged down by public opinion. True control lies in your ability to act in the shadows, to study and observe while others burn out chasing attention. In the stillness of silence, the mind strengthens, intentions become clearer, and true power reveals itself. You don't need to be the center of attention. You can be the strategist at the back of the room, preparing to move when the opportunity arises. In a game where visibility is confused with power, remember, a man who refuses to be seen is an invincible man. When the need for validation becomes a burden, an individual finds themselves trapped in a vicious cycle of insecurity and fragility. The quest for acceptance in the eyes of others turns everyday life into a rehearsed spectacle, where every gesture and word is meticulously timed, as if life is merely about performing a role. This act places you in a vulnerable position. Who are you really, when the spotlight fades? The need to be seen can alienate your true essence. Authenticity gives way to likely masks, camouflaging deep insecurities with rehearsed smiles. In this game, projecting happiness and success turns into a shield against the fear of being discarded. After all, when your worth is measured in likes and comments, the shadow of self-worth becomes oppressive. You're not just an observer of your own role, you become a prisoner of others' opinions. Be clever. The sharpest mind doesn't expose itself, it observes. Effective strategy lies in the ability to move within the shadows, avoiding being caught by superficial judgments. Those who remain silent and observe become invisible maestros, capable of influencing without being seen. Act with discipline and care. Reflect. What truly matters? Being recognized or being respected? In the end, respect is a far more valuable currency than fame. A person who is not seen is often more powerful than one who is exposed. The idea of being visible has shifted from an advantage to a burden. Every image posted, every achievement shared, seems like a step toward empowerment at first glance, but in reality, it may be sealing our fate with vulnerabilities. Being known does not equate to being safe. In fact, many who seek the limelight become easy prey for those lurking in the shadows. What does this reveal about the fragility of such exposure? When external validation transforms into a vital need, authenticity dissolves. What should be a window into your essence turns into a distorted mirror, reflecting only the expectations of others. You are not just an actor on a stage. You might be the very backdrop itself, shaped by the projections of an audience that never seems satisfied. In this context, freedom becomes an illusion. What you lose in seeking approval is far more valuable than any like, the control over your own narrative. Change begins when you refuse to be a spectacle. Silencing the external voice is an act of resistance. You are invited to take on a strategically invisible position, a strategist in the shadows who observes the game while others burn out over their need to be seen. There's power in stepping back from the stage, retreating and letting the pieces fall into place naturally, rather than forcing a plot. Silence yourself and listen. Every movement you make should be calculated, like a conductor directing a symphony rather than being the instrumentalist. True strength lies not in being known, but in being respected, in creating a presence that resonates without the need for external evidence. Power does not need an audience. In this game where many play with exposed emotions, remember, what is unseen is often more effective than what is displayed. The cost of exposure. When you expose yourself too much, the line between notoriety and vulnerability becomes dangerously thin. In this era of constant visibility, social media has transformed everyday life into a spectacle, lives laid bare in real time, emotions cast to the wind, each achievement displayed like a trophy. However, those who reveal too much forget that the light that shines brightly also casts shadows. Silent pain arises when what should be a celebration becomes a target for critics. Have you ever stopped to think, what is the true cost of being seen? The need for external validation turns into a trap. The relentless quest for applause diminishes who you truly are. Like a Machiavellian character manipulating the puppets around them, you become a slave to others' perceptions, rather than to your own desires. This cycle of feedback not only amplifies insecurity, but also exposes the underlying fragility of being human in a world that judges by appearances. Breaking free from this prison is a matter of strategy and discipline. A master of invisibility doesn't get bogged down by public opinion. True control lies in your ability to act in the shadows, to study and observe, while others exhaust themselves seeking attention. In the stillness of silence, the mind strengthens, intentions become clearer, and true power reveals itself. You don't need to be the center of attention. You can be the strategist in the back of the room, preparing to move when the opportunity arises. In a game where visibility is confused with power, remember, a man who refuses to be seen is an invincible man. The urgency to be seen in a world filled with dazzling lights has an undeniably harmful effect. When every step is recorded and each interaction is mediated by a number of likes and comments, reality gives way to performance. The personas crafted in the search for acceptance become invisible prisons. What should be empowerment transforms into an oppressive rigidity. Every mistake is scrutinized, each failure amplified under the magnifying glass of public opinion. The price of exposure is constant self-surveillance, where authenticity dissolves in a sea of anxious spectators. In this environment, strategy emerges as a vital necessity. Recognize that every movement you make can be interpreted or misinterpreted by those waiting for a slip-up, ready to capitalize on your vulnerability. The effectiveness of silence becomes clear. By acting behind the scenes and avoiding the limelight, you position yourself as a quiet player, rejecting the unspoken obligations of others' expectations. Power resides in the shadows, where far from applause, your actions become more meaningful and calculated. In silent manipulation, vulnerability transforms into armor. You are not a puppet, dependent on the laughter or approval of the audience. You become the conductor controlling the orchestra, even while the instruments remain silent. Each action should be considered, every step a tactical move on the board. Respect is earned without forced validation, a result of the inherent strength that emerges from self-assertion. Remember, what remains out of sight often holds more power than what is displayed. Invisibility is an art, not a weakness. The intersection between the known and the unknown is a disquieting space, filled with ambiguities. Many fear what they cannot see. It is in this abyss that true power lies hidden. The unknown becomes a sharp weapon in a world where everything is transparent. When you reveal too much, you not only open yourself up to scrutiny but also to manipulation. Like a Machiavellian character, excessive exposure turns you into an easy target. Remember, intense light can blind, but it is in the shadows that strength is concealed. The fear of the unknown serves as a powerful armor. Uncertainty makes others hesitate and retreat. Those who master silence become the guardians of knowledge, privileged observers, always one step ahead. This balance between visibility and invisibility is a strategic game. By positioning yourself in the dim light, you free yourself from the shackles of validation that permeate the social space. True strength lies in knowing and calculating each move, not in being what everyone sees. Consider the irony. Many seek notoriety, believing that visibility is synonymous with strength, when, in reality, this frantic pursuit makes them vulnerable. Attention becomes a commodity, and the need for approval a burden. Thus, the mind fills with the fear of failure. The expectation of applause transforms into a prison. True control emerges not from seeking validation, but from mastering your own destiny, making choices that resonate behind the curtains. Remember, what is not seen holds more power than what is displayed. It is in silence that true strategy is devised. Every movement you make should be calculated. Unpredictability is the key. While some bear themselves in pursuit of applause, you emerge as the guardian of the shadows, an accomplice of the unknown. Invisibility is an art. Master it. The frantic quest for validation is a prison disguised as freedom. You may wonder, why is this need so powerful? The answer lies in the culture of visibility, where every gesture, every thought is meticulously laid bare for the public eye. This compulsion to be recognized is not just about wanting to be loved. It's a reflection of the insecurities that surround us. How many times have you looked at a screen, hoping that little heart icon would light up as a sign that your existence has value? This relentless pursuit of approval turns individuals into spectacles, marionettes at the mercy of others' applause. What happens when you allow this external expectation to define who you are? The answer is simple and brutal. You become vulnerable, a target. In a game where everyone seeks attention, those who expose themselves too much become easy prey. Like a Machiavellian character, you find yourself enslaved by the perceptions of others, relinquishing the control you could have over your own narrative. But there is an alternative. Silence is a powerful weapon. By learning to observe instead of act, by avoiding the spotlight, you begin to command the shadows. It is in the dim light that true power resides. You can position yourself as a strategist, planning and adapting, while most consume themselves in empty displays. The discipline to remain invisible is a skill many overlook, yet it proves essential. Beware. Your ability to stay out of sight is not a weakness, but a form of resistance. What remains unseen can often be more impactful than any applause. The prison of validation is a subtle reality. While society exalts image and noise, you find yourself suffocated by the constant need to prove yourself. In the heated race for attention, a person becomes a spectacle. But what happens when this reflection turns into a burden? When applause becomes a requirement and every action needs the stamp of approval from others, your true self dissolves. You become a mere reflection of what others want to see. Human nature longs for acknowledgement. However, this endless pursuit reveals itself as an intricate trap. In the shadows of the desire to be appreciated lie vulnerabilities. Like a spy masquerading in broad daylight, always alert for the next judgment. This excessive exposure is a double-edged sword, where every compliment carries the risk of criticism. What should be an act of freedom, self-expression, transforms into the trap that captures your essence. How many times have you felt safer in silence than in the loud display of your life? Understanding the game is essential. True strength isn't drawn from the spotlight, but rather from the stillness of strategy. Those who step away from the center of attention reveal their cunning. While most chase the spotlight, you position yourself as an observer, assessing and controlling. In this dance, acting silently becomes your advantage. Freedom therefore lies in the choice to remain discreet, a player shaping the plot without being consumed by the need to be seen. Be the shadow that challenges the oppressive glow of superficiality. In silence you find power. What remains unseen nurtures the true image of strength. True power reveals itself in the art of invisibility. In the complex labyrinth of human relationships, true power lies in the art of invisibility. When you choose to remain silent, you're not just shielding yourself from exposure. You're positioning yourself as a maestro in the shadows. While most surrender to the clamor for recognition, you become an astute observer, analyzing the game and anticipating moves. The race for public validation transforms individuals into puppets, every like, every share, a marker of illusory value. Thus, those who reveal too much often become easy targets. The relentless pursuit of visibility is not just a trap, it's a prison. Vulnerability is exposed when you become dependent on others' perceptions, allowing your accomplishments to be defined by numbers flashing on screens. Authenticity gives way to a distorted reflection, where every gesture feels rehearsed. You might ask yourself, how far are you willing to sacrifice your true self in the name of approval? Each action becomes a calculated move on a board where the rules change continuously. However, when you embrace silence, you discover a freedom that few can appreciate. True strategists do not seek applause. They observe, prepare, and when the right moment comes, they act decisively and incisively. The effectiveness of silence lies in the ability to absorb your surroundings, to understand the hidden dynamics that govern human interactions. Therefore, never underestimate what remains unseen. Control reveals itself in the subtext, in the pauses between words, and in the condition of being respected rather than merely noticed. Authentic power does not need an audience. It observes.